I'm Bre Pettis, CEO of MakerBot, and I'm going to give you a little presentation about MakerBot and what we do. And we're a disruptive company in the sense that we've entered a market with really expensive things, and we're a small percentage of the price of those expensive competitors, and we do maybe 90% of what they can do. But this is me. Oh, go back one. That's me and my brother. My brother's driving. And when I was 6, I went to Boston to visit my Aunt Meredith and Uncle Joe. And Uncle Joe's job was to wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. And he brought me with him. And he had a little Japanese pickup truck, and he knew all the trash routes in Boston. And we'd get to the trash before the garbage collectors did. And we found the good stuff, fixed it up during that week, and then sold it at a flea market. And during that week, we picked up a couple broken bicycles, and he made me feel, at least, that I put together these bicycles and actually made a working bicycle. And then, of course, we spray painted it black, and it was mine. And I left that week with a bike, and also this feeling that I could fix anything, because I'd taken it apart and then put it all together, and it worked. And there's really two things about that. One is that really inspired me to build infrastructure for, really got me hooked on making things, because there's a real rush. And then also to build infrastructure for creative explorers in the world. And I think it's also something about, there's something there about, if you can give a little bit of your time or share a little bit of what you do with the next generation, or frankly with the internet, the world is a better place for it. So I built bikes. I love bikes. I love fixing them. Then I moved to New York. And in New York, there wasn't a hackerspace. And I'd had a hackerspace in Seattle, where I lived previously. And so I started a thing called NYC Resistor, which is basically a clubhouse for geeks with lots of tools. And this is my friend Raphael laughing maniacally, because he's working the BarBot, which is a drink mixing machine. For future reference, never put a random button on a drink mixing machine. It was at NYC Resistor that where we felt like we could make anything, because we had the tools to make anything, that we thought, well, let's make a machine that can make anything. And we'd wanted a 3D printer, but we couldn't afford one. So we went ahead and just started. We had a laser cutter, so we could just start trying these things out. And we just kept prototyping and prototyping. And when it almost worked, we quit our jobs and started MakerBot. And we found a warehouse that had been used for storage for 50 years. And this is it. And we moved in, and we started packing boxes. When hardware companies come to me and they say, like, what's one of the secrets of starting a hardware company? I say, you have to love packing and shipping boxes. It's part of the deal with real stuff. You have to get it out there in the world. So over the first 3 years of the company, we used laser cutting technology to be able to iterate really quickly. We've got the prototype there in our first 3 machines, the Cupcake CNC, the Thingimatic, and the Replicator, which came out in January of this year. And we were able to do, one of the great things about laser cutting is you can make something and there's no tooling. So when we wanted to make a change, it's just a digital design file change, and we could just send it to our laser cutter, and we could improve the machine without having to redo tooling. Which in hardware, the way it usually works is you spend a lot of money, sometimes tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, on tooling, which then gets put in a big machine that goes like this. And parts come out. And with laser cutting, we just put it in there, and it goes zzz, and it's kind of magic. You can watch it. It's great. And it's lasers, of course, so it's very satisfying. So 2 weeks ago, we launched the MakerBot Replicator 2 desktop 3D printer. And it's a really special moment in our time, because we had been basically a hobbyist 3D printer. And with the first 2 machines we did, you actually had to put it together. And those first 100 customers we had, they actually had to assemble surface mount electronics components, like by squeezing goo onto a circuit board and then placing parts with tweezers and sticking it in a toaster oven, and hopefully electronics come out, right? Now we have a machine that we're really proud of that's got a powder-coated steel chassis. It's capable of doing 100-micron layer resolution, has a massive build volume of 410 cubic inches, and it can just make beautiful things, and it just works. We also just came out with software, which we just have been working on for a long time, that make it really easy. This is like the iPhoto of 3D printing. You just drag and drop in a model, like this building, and then press Make It, and your 3D printer just goes to work and makes it for you. This is sped up a little bit. Ta-da! This is how fast it actually goes. And one of the cool things about, the big leaps forward for us was you could put multiple things on the build platform and then put them all together, and then they'd all just be done, and you could make a whole project at once. This is a gratuitous picture of an owl. This is the filament, and we'd made a big choice recently to shift our new machine, the Replicator 2, uses a material called PLA. And this skull is made from PLA. And what's cool about PLA, it stands for polylactic acid, is that it's a renewable bioplastic. It's made from corn. And it smells good when you make things on your MakerBot. And it doesn't expand like other plastics and then contract when it gets hot and then contract when it gets cold. So it makes just really beautiful things. So of course we were like, lots of colors, and because we're MakerBot, we're like, glow in the dark. Why not? Let's see if it works. And then it does. So we're like, sell it. So a couple things from us is that it's the best time ever to create a company where you make something and sell it. It's this classic business model, revolutionary. You buy things, you put them together and sell them, and it's fantastic. And it's so much easier today than it was 5 years ago. Electronics are much more modular. Software is much more modular. And there's places like hackerspaces. You've got a great one in town called Pumping Station 1, where you can go and be around other people who are obsessed with hardware and share what you know and learn from others. And then Kickstarter. Oh, I wish Kickstarter had been around when we started MakerBot. But you're seeing really cool projects going out there, and if they work, the community supports them. If they don't, they move on. And it's a great way of pushing money. You don't have to get all the money. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff and then hope it sells. You get to you sell it before you make it. It really messes with the structure of making things and selling them in a good way. So we also just opened up a retail store, because that's another, we're like, what can we do to get the word out so that people can feel this stuff? And there's a MakerBot in the hall out there, and you should go up and you should feel it. You should feel what a 3D printed thing feels like. Because we found one of our problems we had was we'd tell people I'd be on the subway with a MakerBot going to go show it someplace like this, and people would say, what is it? And I'd say, it's a teleporter. And they'd go, oh yeah? And I'd go, no, 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 it's a 3D printer. And they'd give me the same look. So we just opened up a retail store so people can come and check it out in Manhattan and buy gifts for people that you can't get anywhere else that are made on a MakerBot. And that's what it looks like. I'm just showing you this because I'm so proud of it. We just opened it up. And we're also, you saw what we call the bot cave. And we call it the bot cave for a few reasons. That's our warehouse. Part of it is because it's a building from the 1850s that was the Federal Brewery Company in Brooklyn. And there's no cell reception in there. The walls are like this thick. And we're excited because we're going to actually move into a real office. And it's kind of with desks. These are the things that happen when you're in a company and it grows. And we're almost 4 years and we get to move into offices. It's exciting. So sharing. So we're obsessed with empowering people to make stuff and then being able to shine a spotlight on them and turn them into superstars. So we have a site called Thingiverse where people share. It's a universe of things. And it's where people share their digital designs. And every day it's my favorite thing to check it out and see what's new in the Thingiverse and what new has been shared, what you can make on a MakerBot. We actually started Thingiverse before MakerBot, and there's something like 30,000 things on Thingiverse. That's more things than you can make in your lifetime. So you don't even have to be a designer anymore to make really cool stuff on your MakerBot. So this might look familiar. This is just down the way, in the loop. And this is at the Art Institute of Chicago. And one of the cool things about Chicago is you've got an awesome MakerBot community here. Some of the most innovative people are here doing really cool next-gen stuff. And Tim Burtonwood and Mike, who are out in the lobby, are just super awesome, innovative people who are using this for really innovative things. Tim used a program called 123D Catch, where you can use your iPad or your iPhone or even just a regular camera, and you take a bunch of pictures of something and you upload it to the cloud using 123D Catch, and then it turns it into a model. So now you can have your own line, and you can make a little miniature model of the Art Institute, and yeah. I just think that's cool, and it's happening here. Yeah, give it up for Mike and Tom. And then you've got people doing really interesting things like going into the Art Institute of Chicago and just replicating things. It was interesting, we kicked this off at the Met in New York, and I'd always wanted to steal everything from the Met. And when I finally was able to talk to them about this, hi, I'd like to have everything, it turned out that they had the same feeling. They wanted more people to have access to the art, so they actually invited us in with a bunch of artists to scan and catch all this beautiful art and then share it with everybody. So if you have a MakerBot, you can have all sorts of things from the Met. And the Art Institute of Chicago was like, oh yeah, New York? And so they've just been going gangbusters, uploading really cool things, so it's on. So a couple use cases. What do people use? Why would you all have one of these things? Or why would somebody you know have one of these things? Well, first of all, it's just cool. It's like, there's definitely like a kitten watching a goldfish bowl effect. It's just at least as good as TV. And you can solve like Christmas and Hanukkah with one fell swoop. You just make everything. This is one of my favorite stories. This is a guy whose username on Thingiverse is Calm Tom. And his daughter, they were going to go to an amusement park, and his daughter is 41.5 inches tall. For those of you with children, you know that this is a sad day. So Tom was like, oh, I'm not going to be daunted by this. I've got a MakerBot. And so he just made some inserts for his daughter. Solved. Look at that smile. This is one of my favorite things on Thingiverse. If you have kids, yeah, you know you have Duplo, which are like giant Lego blocks, and you've got Brio, which is these train sets, but they've always been separate. Well, not if you have a MakerBot. You can print out this brick or this connector that connects so you can connect these two things. Neither of these companies would be interested in making a connector for these things. But when you have a MakerBot, it's a whole new world. You can connect things that weren't meant to be connected, or maybe should be connected but aren't yet. This is Casey Holgren. Oh, she's a power user. She's awesome. She lives in a one-room apartment and runs her MakerBots. She has two, like all the time, because she's a stage designer. She's for the theater, and so she used to have to do things by cutting pieces of paper and cardboard, and now she just designs them and lets her machines run all night. And she makes entire sets for Broadway. Like literally, this is a set that's now on Broadway that she made little models of to take to the director. And there's actually, if you look closely, there's some markings where the director's like, the chair should be here. But I just think that's it's another application of something to do with it. And this is Thomas from Rest Devices. Thomas is making a contraption that helps people with sleep apnea be more in tune with what's going on at night. Sleep apnea is where you forget to breathe while you're asleep. Kind of important. And he's got a company that he's growing, and he's creating a device. He was able to prototype. And the way it used to be is you'd come up with a design, you'd send it off. It would take a couple weeks or a month. You'd get it back. You'd be like, oh, it's not right. Let's do this again, another month. But when you have a MakerBot, that can take hours, and you can do multiple revisions in a day instead of a revision every week or every month. So he's been working on all his prototypes and his products. He's just been cranking them out on the MakerBot till he's happy with it, and then he can go into production, which I just think is so cool. So it's just so we provide this tool. So there's a couple things. One, we provide a tool that allows people who are innovative to change the world. We're just really proud of that. But then we're also a little bit of what I'm hoping to share is a little bit of a model so that other people will be like, OK, I want to make something and have a go at it. Because it's time for those ideas to exist in the world. Gratuitous shot of all of us at MakerBot in front of our building. We're really proud because we make MakerBots in the USA in Brooklyn. And yeah, that's the way it should be. And there's a couple things that are really good about this. Oh, let me just show you. So there we are making them. They pile up. It's great. And then we ship them all out. We have big, giant walls of boxes that go out and multiple UPS trucks that show up. It's absurdly satisfying. And we keep having to get more space. This is a new space we got to make the replicator, too. And we hire like 35 people at a time. It's awesome. Okay, I'm kind of proud of my employees. This is all of them. This is the support team. OK, so here we go. This is what I was getting to. Couple things. A lot of people, when they do hardware, they're like, oh, when are you going to China? And we learned a lot about China. And one of the things we learned is that it's not a silver bullet for manufacturing. What you get in China is you get cheap labor. And the downside, a bunch of the downsides are just like it's hard to communicate. It's 12 hours difference from here, which means that when it's 10 p.m. here, it's 10 a.m. there, and vice versa. And things take a long time, too. We made the replicator, too. And we actually, people who are in manufacturing just shake their heads and don't believe me when I say we started 5 months before our launch. And we were originally going to launch in November, but then we got the cover for Wired. So we had to push back a month and a half, and we're like, we can do this. And we did. But we were only able to do that because we manufactured in the US. And we were able to call up our suppliers and say, we're totally screwed. Can you please help us? Or, hey, we really need to push this fast. Or can we just drive over there and see how it's going? That kind of stuff really is just priceless. And the kind of connections you can make when you're making things locally is really powerful. And it feels right. So what happens next? I mean, we've got our story, but really this story is about you and what you do next and how you decide to push a little bit on the world. And there's just so many opportunities right now to push things, to just shift things a little bit and see if they start rolling. You don't even have to push that hard. Sometimes you just push a little bit and you go, oh, that feels right. You gather some friends and you start pushing and things start happening. And it's going to happen because you try something and then you get some support for it. And with the way that everything's working out, you can get support in a way that you couldn't get before. You can broadcast things individually in a way that used to take, a lot of really good friends and high places to do. Now you can just do things and get attention individually and make stuff happen. I'm convinced we're just at the beginning of something really special, a massive co-arising of creativity and exploration. And I think that's where I'm going to end it, right there. So I'll see you out in the lobby. Thank you very much.